Hi, welcome back. So this is the second term, minus 6y minus 3. They have in common a minus 3. They're both negative. Whenever your leading coefficient is negative, you should factor out a negative term. And so that's negative 3, and that would be 2y plus 1. If I multiply negative 3 times 2y, I get negative 6y, and negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. And here I see that their common term is 2y plus 1. And so I factor out 2y plus 1 times 2y squared minus 3. And that would be the factored form there. All right, let's look at number 4. Number 4, let's do this one by box. Again, you see that third term has the negative out in front of it, so you have to be careful to put that, if you're using factoring by grouping, to make sure that that becomes inside the parentheses, and then you put a plus on the outside. Using the box helps to avoid that any mistakes with that. So we get 20h cubed, and then plus 4, the last term goes in the last box, and then minus 16h squared and minus 5h. And the greatest common factor for the top row would be 4h squared. And the bottom row would be, since minus 5h and 4 have seemingly no factors in common. Remember, they always have 1 in common, so there's 1. And 20h cubed and minus 5h have 5h in common. And negative 16h squared and plus 4 have a 4 in common. Now, I need to adjust the signs. I put plus on this one, but I think I might need to adjust. 4h squared times 5h, 4 times 5 is 20, h squared times h is h cubed. So that one's fine. Those signs are fine. We want the first term of each factor to be positive. Then down below, if I make this minus 1 times 5h is negative 5h. So that now works. And 4 times 4h squared is 16h squared. And you need it to be negative, so I'm going to put a minus on the 4. Negative 4 times 4h squared is negative 16h squared. That works. And then negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4, and that works as well. So now I can say my factors are 5h minus 4 times 4h squared minus 1. And that's this factored. All right, number 5. So before I start number 5, I want to go back to the steps, and the step says factor out any GCF. So if I look at number 5, those are all even. And so I think I can factor out a 2 out of each of them, and I want to do that. So I factor out a 2, and I get 2 times 3q cubed plus, factoring the 2 out of the 2q squared r leaves q squared r, minus 18q minus 6r. If I multiply each of those by the 2 that I put on the outside of the parentheses, it gives me the original polynomial that we have up top. So now we're going to take, I'm going to use the box. We could do it the other way, but I like the box. So 3q cubed plus q squared r minus 18q minus 6r. And then I factor out the greatest common factor. This would be q squared. This would be 6, and I'm going to put minus 6 because they're both negative. And then right above the first column, that'd be 3q. And above the second column, looks like r. And I think it's going to be positive, but we're going to double check. You always want to double check before you move forward and say, these are my factors. 3q times q squared is 3q cubed. Yes. And 3q times negative 6 is negative 18q. Yes. And q squared times r is q squared r. Yes. And negative 6 times r is negative 6r. Yes. So our factors are 3q plus r times q squared minus 6. And those are the factors. Oh, sorry. Those are not all of the factors. Those are the factors of this part that I've just underlined there. I forgot the 2 that I took out. So that 2 is still a factor. So we need to put that 2 in there also. All right, 6. I look for a greatest common factor, and I don't see that any of them have any one thing in common. 5 won't go into 3, and 3 won't go into 5. So they don't all have the same common factors. So we're just going to take this whole thing and put it in a box. 5xy and minus 15. And then I'll put minus 3x and plus 25y. And I factor the top row, they have an x in common. And the bottom row, they have 5 in common. And the first column, they have 5y in common. And the second column has negative 3 in common. I'm going to put a negative because they're both negative, so pretty sure that works, but let's multiply it out. 5y times x is 5xy. Yes. 5y times 5 is 25y. Yes. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x, and 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. So that settles it. 5y minus 3 times x, and this is positive, so x plus 5. And those are the factors. All right. That brings us to the end. Have a great time practicing. Practice, practice, practice. You'll get better. See you later.